I will say, this is probably my favorite one we've done so far. And I do not say that every time. Go watch the other ones. I don't say it every time. Welcome, ladies and gents, to another BTNeanderthal video. Today is episode 6 of Pay to Play. We're doing a Rabies Druid sponsored by Swishes. So, thank you very much, Swishes. This build has been a ton of fun. This is the first section we're covering right now while still fresh. With the leveling portion, we are currently level 62. And the run ended up dying at Hell Ancients. If I die here, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm out. I tap out. I was unable to kill Hell Ancients. But before we go on to what happened in the end game, let's talk a little bit about the early game and how all that felt overall. So during like level 1 through 16, Poison Creeper was like the play here. This is actually like the best way to level a druid that we've found so far. Put a bunch of points in the Poison Creeper. It was good. Probably could have been using Feral Rage a little bit earlier. Like early game, we could be using like 1 point Feral Rage for a while just to get the extra faster movement and things like that. Just moving through the game, that can help because it is at level 6. So you could put 1 point into Feral Rage there. Poison Creeper is our main damage up until we get like Rabies pretty much. Rabies is a skill that's not unlocked until level 18, so it takes a little bit to get there. But in Act 1, I was a little bit over leveled. I was level 16 fighting Andariel, and it was actually pretty rough. Poison damage does not do very well against Andariel. Not nearly as good as, like, you know, if you're running Fissure or something on a druid. Overall, it was still good, like it cleared everything. It's just Andariel with high poison res was pretty rough. So this is fine. Ultimately, it is fine. Like, once we got Rabies, it was really good. Honestly, we were wrecking P8. That's level 1 Rabies on players 8. On players 8. It's amazing in the flare jungle. Like, amazing. When you get insane density, the rate at which it like spreads across everything, it's nuts. And you just like run through and kite mobs. It's a lot of fun because there's a lot of like, you know, apply Rabies, run around and kiting. That's a really fun playstyle for me at least. Cheat death. If you get down to 1 HP, or like if you get down to, you know, fatal damage, you'll instead turn back into human form with 1 HP. Getting a two-hander, they're good only if you have like a good item to actually equip and go towards. Otherwise, you might want to go for a staff like an IES staff or something, or a staff with like a bunch of elemental damage on it. IES is very important during this build. Early Nightmare, late Normal, like it's really important to stack Feral Rage just to have the faster movement speed and attack speed, all that stuff. Now this run was kind of special in the sense of like the items that I did get and the items that I didn't get. Like I didn't get any fast run walk, pretty much. I got 1/5 fast run walk charm in like late hell. When you have additional points, you want to put those points into Feral Rage. So like say you maxed out and you do like Isual, or maybe not even maxed out, but say you're maxed out for your level and you can't put a point in but you have extra points, you want to put them into Feral Rage. Ultimately the Poison Creeper is not really that great very quickly. One thing I will mention, as you can see here, I actually went for Lycan instead of maxing out Poison Creeper. And that's because this build is extremely squishy, man. Like, they even buffed up the life. But like, Flare dudes in Hell, like they would like 2 or 3 shot me, like if I was not careful. So it was It's important to start putting points into this instead of more damage, like those 4 points into damage. Damage was actually fine throughout pretty much the whole run. Like, it was slow, but damage was fine. It was doing good the way the rabies spread. The hard thing was applying your like actual rabies skill onto the monsters so it could spread, and that was because of attack rating. And we'll see how it goes in season 2 with attack rating, things you can craft, and minus defense and all that stuff. I will say this though, I did get really lucky in the run, and I ended up getting angelics. I got elders, and I slammed it with a world stone shard and got IES and ED. So this really helped in Nightmare, Chaos, all the pit lords in there, or venom lords, or whatever you want to call them, they were all poison immune. Poison immunes are a major problem for this build. I mean, you can lore resist wand, right? But the issue is, first you have to go from werewolf form, out of werewolf form, swap weapons, cast, back into werewolf form, then you apply again. And with the reduced duration of wands with charges, like, it's just not even realistic, really. Kinda got lucky. We got this in normal, which Venom Ward has, you know, poison pierce, which is excellent for this build. We also got 3 rabies on a helmet, also insane. We got a really nice res amulet. We're in hell right now, and we have not negative res. I know some of you guys are like, oh my god, this res are bad, but like, this is actually excellent res. But yeah, this isn't the fastest build, but it's a lot of fun, and I highly recommend trying it out. It's actually pretty good. It's pretty good, at least during the leveling phase. So we're about to test the endgame viability and see how that actually goes. And now we tested the late game all today in the second section, and it performed a lot better than I thought it would, honestly. Like, it's really good. Cows are excellent. This is a pretty sick cow farmer, honestly, like, so far. I haven't even built a mercenary or anything. Like, this is fun. This build is a lot of fun, dude. For tier 1 maps, I'd probably say it's probably the best place where it really shines is tier 1 maps. Both players 1 and players 8. The ability to move around and kite really helped this build out quite a bit. So, you know, you like kind of tag the monster, you run around with rabies and feral rage stacks, get your movement speed up, and you kind of run around the monsters and kite them around while rabies does the work. So it's really good. In tier 2 maps, it was ultimately not bad. I'd say like tier 2, you know, you want to run on players 1. It's not really that great on players, or on players 8 for tier 2, just because those poison immunes, like the chargers are poison immune on there, and chargers are tanky, and that's an issue. Other thing I want to mention about tier 1 maps real quick is, and this is for season 1 Project Diablo 2 that I'm talking about. For tier 1 maps, it's really good to have something on swap to do damage, whether that's like a, you know, Cranium Basher. The one thing I did try about Cranium Basher though is that like it has a lot of strength requirements, so like you kind of lose a lot of vitality and a lot of HP by putting points into strength there. So that's an issue, or it can be an issue depending on what's going on. But Cranium Basher wrecks face as far as physical damage. You just kind of focus on using Feral Rage with that weapon swap to kill all the poison immunes. You just want to make sure that you have enough points into strength and dexterity wear your gear. The rest goes into vitality as always. And then, you know, the actual spec for it just goes max rabies, max feral rage, max werewolf, max lycan, and then max poison creeper. That's what your skill tree looks like. If you're taking out a single target, you're going to be wanting to use both rabies, because it does damage over 5 seconds, and then during that 5 seconds you want to be doing feral rage against that single target. I ended up actually liking CTA and Lidless Wall after trying out a bunch of different things, as long as I wasn't focusing on trying to kill poison immunes a lot. Like if I was on players 1, Viper Fork by itself with 5 socket facets was good enough. Actually, you could do a decent amount of physical damage on swap with like Cranium Basher, do like 18k Feral Rage or something, 15k Feral Rage. Oh, and in tier 2 you melt the boss, like the boss just goes bye-bye. Well, we melt the boss. I want to try Ubers. But let's finish out trying this stuff. This is not a Players 8 map. You could do Players 8 in tier 1, but not this tier. Tier 3, we have a little bit of an issue. Now, there's not a lot of poison immunes, or any poison immunes really, but there's poison resistant mobs. And on top of that, like I was saying earlier, the playstyle is like, you know, tag the monster and then run around them. On tier 3, with the way that it's set up, like the River of Blood map, it's very hard to like run around monsters. You need good density for Rabies to really shine as well, which can happen for sure. But the issue is, like, again, being able to kite and play from a safe distance. You know, you tag, run away, try to dodge, kite them around, use Rabies, you know, let it do its thing. This build, like I said earlier, can do any content in the game. The one issue that it has is it takes forever to do Players 8 on, like, the key bosses. It can kill them, 100%. You just need enough rejuves and you need enough time. But I ended up using a Kelpie Snare Merc to actually make it so they would slow down during the boss fights. So during Ubers, I like the Kelpie Snare Merc to just slow monsters by 75%, and then I have another 10% there, so really capitalize on the slow. So both key bosses and Ubers themselves, it was very useful to use that. Now, when I actually ran maps and stuff, I ran Plague on the Mercenary. And Plague with like a really tanky setup. I had Crown of Ages with double burr. I got, you know, shaft stop. It doesn't have to look exactly like this. The reason why there's a co-rune in there is because the Mercenary, I was being lazy and the Mercenary didn't have enough dexterity. I did all the content in the game with pretty much this setup. I tried different things, like I said before, with CTA and Lidless, but I did all the content in the game. We had 5-socket Viper, Viper Fork, with all 5 facets, poison facets. We had Venom Grip. We had Wisp Projector, Arachnid's Mesh, Ravenfrost, Gores, Bramble, with 43%, Jalal's, and Mara's. So the thing about Bramble, it took me 11 times or something like that to get 43%. It was rough. I couldn't do it. So I don't necessarily recommend making Bramble. You can make it, but like 25 to 50% poison skill damage, like, you know, buy a Bramble is what I might say to recommend that. Like, that's a lot of high runes, okay, for a very drastic change in damage. So that's something I have to say. Just be aware, if you're gonna make Bramble, that it's a massive risk. You could actually use Plague Bearer, because +5 Rabies is not bad. It's not a bad idea. We had, you know, shapeshift skillers to hit breakpoints, whether it's you know, hit recovery and life with res. We stayed capped on that stuff. So this build is very versatile. You can play and do any content. Like I was saying, all that gear I just showed you, I did declone. I killed the declone with this gear. Literally that res, you know, 75 res, no shield, like you know, you can tank up. I did it mostly just because I wanted to see if it was possible. Players 1 Ubers still takes a bunch of time. God set and Ubers is uber difficult. It's not actually that hard, it just takes time. Like everything on this build, with the exception of tier 1 maps, this is something I want to actually mention in the notes. Everything on this build, except for tier 1 maps and cows, is like on the slower side. We don't really need a merc, but I like having merc for slow. Large charm. Here we go. Druid! 47, 19, 20, Druid. That's a really good Druid torch, man. Grief is good for P1. Yeah, I think ultimately there's a lot of options you can do for players 1. But like, as far as what I've tested, Viper Fork is like more than enough to do the job. Like, as you can see, I do 62k. And like, that's even, you know, that was without BO. Now with BO, I do 65k. Like, and you could get more damage if you want get like a +1 slam here, +1 slam here, or use a different amulet, whatever the heck you want to do. Like, you can get more damage. Get Canopy Frozen, Gores, or whatever boots you want to use. There's a lot of options with the boots, I feel like. I recommend, if you're doing Ubers, use Gores. You got Open Wounds, Deadly Strike, Crushing Blow. Those 3 stats are really good. But, yeah. Really good build, a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it a lot. So thank you very much, Swishes. It was a ton of fun. You guys are beasts. Sub now, apparently. Yeah. People are going hard with subs today, so. Fire damage is actually the worst. Like, his fire damage is crazy. Oof. I don't want to be standing there. Oof. 3, 4, 5. Okay, we're good. I am having too much fun right now, though. I'm glad I spent that day when I did the declone on single player to like figure out how the declone fight actually worked. Because now I have like a lot better understanding of what's actually happening. Because there's a lot of stuff happening on screen. Like, well, what stuff matters? It's a cool, yeah, it's a cool fight. It's the only thing I really hate about it is the desynced fire. That's like the worst. That is actually the dumbest thing ever. 1, 2, 3. Oof. 4, 5. Damn it. Yeah. He likes his lightning hose, man. Oh. Freaking fire, bro. Firestorm. If I literally had some fire resist or like max fire resist and stuff, it'd be fine. Let's go! Let's go! 3, 2, 1. That's like a weird roll.